So I actually think this Mark Rowley guy is going off the rails a bit. Someone just showed a bit of footage of him
posting certain comment.
Black Belt barristers talking about all these riots that are going off everywhere. Beg your pardon. Yeah, so I think Rowley came out of a meeting the other day, and he damaged or he went for a reporter and either knocked or damaged or did something to their microphone when they interviewed him. So Rowley himself is actually displaying aggressive behaviour. It's almost like when I put my petition notices up in 2013, 14 or whenever it was. I noticed that they'd been taken down, so I went to find out who'd done it, and it was one of the police guys, and I challenged him because I got a note from the council saying, we'll tell people to leave them alone because you got a lawful right to have them up, right? Because we know now that they're privileged materials, like the election material. The police are allowed to touch them, right? Even if they're on the speed cameras. And I had a little bit of a I basically told him I got freedom of speech because it's about the petition notices, right? So I got freedom of speech. It's about the petition notices. And to be honest, the language that I used in that video is nothing close to a remote to any sort of language that's on YouTube at the moment. And then he basically started trying to pull all the stuff out of my van at one point, but I drove off, which was pretty crazy. And they said it was a fray or something. But the thing is that officer went absolutely berserk. He totally lost his cool, and his behaviour was quite aggressive and crazy. What we're seeing now from Rowley, the chief of police, is that when these news reporters are actually just wanting to get a comment off him or interviewing him, if his day's not going well, he's actually being physically aggressive with them. It's almost like some Extinction Rebellion people. I've seen police actually, I want to find that clip, but some of the police have been getting protesters, and then they were like saying, I'm going to hurt you if you don't yield, or I'm going to apply pain to you, or whatever, or whatever, if you don't do what I say, and stuff like that, whether it was resisting arrest or whatever. But they've actually said they're going to hurt them, or I need to find that clip. It's an important clip. But Rowley, it seems to me like, I think usually on the surface is usually a reflection of probably, it's probably, you're not seeing, the half of it really. So as far as I'm concerned, the chief of the Met Police at the moment, there's got to be a lot more under the surface than that. I think he's probably quite an aggressive man. I seem to, when I look at him now, I'm like, this, when there was him and, if you put him and Max Hill together at the side of each other, if you get Rowley and Max Hill together at the side of each other, who was the Director of Public Prosecutions, let's not forget, he prosecuted Angela Ditchfield in the High Court for criminal damage when it was an advertisement for Extinction Rebellion under two acts of law, Town and Country Planning Act 1991 and 2007, which he completely ignored, which make it surface advertisements shall not be construed as incorporated into the fabric of a building, right? And he blanked those laws, and when I look at Max Hill and Mark Rowley, to me, they're like, a pair of embezzlers. When you get these sort of like these very, very high level criminals, like forgery and, all these, kind of like in the Peaky Blinders, but, the guys with the shirts, though, they look like very intellectual criminals, with a pulsing vein on the temple. I think Mark Rowley, and also there's an element of Mark Rowley, to me, this is my interpretation of it, that it is very much kind of like the Arthur character on Peaky Blinders. Like on Peaky Blinders, they've got this Arthur character, which is a film that was published to the public. Remember, the Peaky Blinders? It was a TV series on all the time. The Arthur character, he's not that bright. He's more muscle. He's the right man for the job. He did all the Peaky Blinders kind of muscle work. He wasn't Tommy Shelby. And I get that impression. If you want me to do a character assessment of Rowley, I think he's a lot more like Arthur in Peaky Blinders. He's the man with the muscle. He gets the mob, the police in to do the job. He's not that intelligent in the law. I wouldn't say that he was. I wouldn't say that he was. He's not King's Counsel. That's for sure. I don't know what King's Counsel are advising him, but that's why I think that makes him and Max Hill fit the embezzler characters, because crime's not meant to pay. Crime's not meant to win. Crime's meant to be. And this is the thing. This is why I don't think they're that clever, because Max Hill wasn't that clever. He broke the law. He's not been prosecuted for it. He's not answering for it. He's got away scot-free with it. He's not in the position anymore, but he's got away with it. And Rowley, he's prosecuting those ULEZ protesters illegally. There's loads of Extinction Rebellion people being prosecuted illegally. They're not recognising parliamentary privilege properly. They don't even enforce the Public Meetings Act online. They're not bothered about. They're wanting to take down things that possibly might incite violence or whatever, but they're not wanting to enforce and act in the public's interest when we're protected online and when these actually platforms are breaking the law. He's not wanting to do that. We've got illegal road signage all around the country, which was proved misleading people into speed entrapment sites, which is not only dangerous but making easy catch fines for the police. They've never actually had to answer for that to the public. They've never admitted they've done it. They've never been prosecuted, let alone the fines being given back. The police is a relatively modern invention in the last 250 years, which has now got a force and a lot of equipment and hardware. And, they're meant to protect the public, but the public have always protected themselves with the law. It's the law, the legislation, and the process, the criminal procedure rules protect the public, right? Because you've got the force of the law behind you as a citizen. You've got powers. Powers are there for anyone to use. But the thing with Rowley and the police is like, oh, you need us. We're your saviours. We're going to rescue you. If you don't have us, you're screwed. You can't live without us. It's not like there's powers and force there, whether we're there or not. And the police, it's almost like protection money now. Protection, you need us or else, right? When it's the legislation and the law is the power and taking people to courts. But, if they're the only ones who fill the little baby checklist in, it's almost like filling an application form in when the police send it off to court. But if you write a really complicated affidavit that is lawful, the court you don't get a response. They do nothing. It's this kind of like complete total disregard for the intellect and the capacity of the public that makes us now feeble and useless. If MI5 and MI6 and 77th Brigade, they're aiding and abetting the police. I'll report them now. Illegal road signage, evidence is proved. They're not enforcing the Public Meeting Act. Max Hill, he prosecuted Angela Ditchfield illegally. I'd be ashamed of myself if I was a member of the military in England, if I was working on MI5. Some of these people on MI5, they don't speak to their families. Some of these people in the very, very high police surveillance units, they're not allowed to speak to the family, the mothers or their brothers or their children, because some of their families are like actually like Vobes, basically, like Vobes and his wife. They're opposed to surveillance state, and they're actually not allowed to speak to their own relatives. They're separating them from their families. Some of these special forces people now are actually separated from their family. It's quite tragic, really, for the sake of world domination and takeover. You know, I think Rowley is literally, you know, just because, you know, and it's always the police who say, you know, don't react this way, don't react that way, you know, they're criticising our behaviours, you know, provoked, unprovoked, or whatsoever, right? And then Rowley's literally ripping microphones out of reporters and answering questions and so forth. So I see, in Rowley, I see a very, very similar character emerging now to Arthur from the Peaky Blinders, because he doesn't know the law. And not all of his KC know the law as well. You know, I'm not saying that I know all areas of law. I only know the areas of law that I've studied. But for certain, I know for a fact that the Public Meeting Act's really important for being online, and all they're talking about is taking things down online, that you can't post this or that. They're not talking about when things have been taken down unlawfully, and lots of people have been mistreated by the platforms, and the police aren't protecting us, like my channel, which is protected, and other ones. So, you know, I want to hear the police talking about, I want to see them acting without bias, acting impartially, and, you know, 50-50, you know, okay, these things are wrong, these things are illegal, take it down, but yet then, you know, these things shouldn't have been taken down, and it was illegal to take them down, actually an offence to take them down, and we're meant to act on those offences, even if it's a big platform, you know, even if it is a big platform, that's the thing, you know, and then we've got some protesters who weren't breaking the law, like the ULIS protesters who are under privileges, using privileged items, like anything to do with elections or petitions and so forth. And then also, you know, there's another thing. What Black Belt Barrister has just said about the American, he's talked about the American law for free speech. He's trying to make out that only America has the most robust free speech for the First Amendment, right? Our free speech, the complete freedom of speech, is in connection with matters of Parliament, right? It's in the 1688 Bill of Rights, in the same bill as the right to petition, and actually in the same bill as what's got the right to bear arms for defence. So, and that's another big issue that we need to bring up and raise as well, that they're not going to talk about that either. They're not even going to entertain even mentioning that it exists, because they're stripping down pretty much all of his rights. But, so, we have got free speech if it's political, and that's why the extradition is bad if it's political. It's all in this political band and spectrum. And the ULEZ actions and some of all the Extinction Rebellion stuff, pretty much. So we have got complete total free speech when it's in matters of church, state and law. Now, this is the thing. In the Tumultuous Petitioning Act, which was before the 1688 Bill of Rights, it's defined... It defines petitions and matters for either of Houses of Parliament or the King. It includes in that act of law that it can be used as evidence, the 1661 Act. It says in matters of church, state, or the law of the country. So the ironic thing is, right, let's get his heads around this, right? And I guess this is to anybody really, anybody and everyone. In fact, I'll probably tag RFK again, even though it's in America and different law to us. But listen, right? The Tumultuous Act classifies matters of church, state, or law. Matters of state is that anything to do with the running of the country in any department, right, or anything that the government can do, even a promotion for the Prime Minister, right, even getting Boris Johnson to shear a sheep, because, it's a matter of state. He's doing an advertisement or promotion on behalf of the state, right? Matters of church. So the matters of the church were the main reason why a lot of the troubles happened when people were getting put in prison to do with petitioning, because they were arguing over religion, right? And people were getting their ears cut off and put in prison. John Beswick and Henry Burton and people like that. And that's actually what led into the Civil War, to be honest. So it's actually matters of church. Matters to do with religion and the church. Church is religion, right? When they say church, it's going to worship, right? And whether you should or shouldn't worship, or what other religions should the church accept or not accept. So we actually have in this country the right to petition based on the 1661 Tumultuous Petitioning Act does include matters of religion in free speech, right? Because ultimately, getting religions changed or arguing over what religions are falls under Parliament, particularly under the ministry and Archbishop and House of Lords and so forth. So it is actually matters of church and religious matters actually are protected by free speech and what the church should or shouldn't do. But also, this is the thing, right? It says matters of church, state and law, right? Well, when you go to Parliament and you want the laws changed, you're complaining about the existing laws. But the thing is, talking freely about what the law should and shouldn't be, right? You can talk freely about the law, and even you need to be able to challenge the law. So the thing is, with all these new restrictions that they're trying to enforce about what you can and can't say and so forth, they cannot stop you from saying that the law should be this or should be that, or we should change it to this or that. And that's the thing that I think the thing is now, with all these actions and activities, right, all these things kicking off and going off, there's absolutely no way on the face of this planet that Mark Rowley or any police chief in this country or any commander of secret services, any MI5 commander, any, not even Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, or anyone in the House of Lords, or even King Charles, they cannot stop you from saying that the law should let people do any of those things, or that we should change it to that, right? And that's a big thing, because they really don't want you to be able to even think about it or mention anything in that area of discussion, right? And the thing is, with all these actions and protests, okay, when they're actually engaging in all these activities, I don't advocate that or say that it's good or whatever, but you can. I'm not saying that the law. I mean, look at America, right? They've still got the death sentence. They've still got the death penalty in America, right? It's like in England. You could say that we should bring the death penalty back, or there should be a death penalty, right? And if you can say that, then surely you could say that that there should be this or that. The law should be that people can do this or that. So I think that's the issue, and the frustration I think is that there is a margin of protection that goes into all of those subjects, and you can't really stop it, really. At least exploring whether you should be able to do it, or that we should make it so people can do it. I mean, I suppose that is different from doing it, but that's the thing. And, I really do, I actually do, the police and courts do not like privileges. They haven't been upholding them. They've been breaking the law on multiple occasions. Look at my case at Leicester. That was a crime against me. I was a victim of a crime there because in the Human Rights Act it says that I could relied on that right in any proceedings, and I did attempt to rely on it. And I was a victim of an illegal act. I don't see any prosecutions against judges, any judges going to prison, not in the news unless they've had to keep it under wraps and the media isn't allowed to report on it. But, notice how they're not reporting, if it was happening and judges were getting put in prison, then, they keep it under wraps. Then, but yet they're glorifying, when these Labour MPs are getting prosecuted for incitement or whatever. It's accepted, by the police, and they prosecute them. And then, it's another advert for Labour, really, that, Labour's like, oh, one of his own's got to take a hit now, just to make to stop everyone else doing it, sort of thing. Almost like, when Johnson got ill, like almost someone kind of made him ill, just so he'd validate the whole process even more or something. So matters of church, state and law, we have got quite a robust free speech. And the figures with the Tumultuous Act, it says by consent and written by hand or by any other means. So, people can... you need to have the Public Meeting Act as well. America doesn't have the Public Meeting Act, and neither does Australia. And that is the only reason why people's channels are getting taken down all over the world now. It's actually England that's got more of a robust... If America was so more robust for free speech, no one would be getting the channels taken down. America isn't actually that robust for free speech because what the platforms are just doing is making up these policies where the law doesn't even matter what the law is, because they're making you consent, submit and accept all these policies without even law. And it's got to the point where they've actually broken the law in this country, in England anyway. YouTube are breaking the law in England and no one is doing anything about it. The Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport is not doing anything about it. No one. And these people aren't protected, the platform owners. It's actually criminal. And they're not getting any legal action against them at all. The police are not acting to restore or get anyone's material put up when, getting it taken down was a crime. But they're really, really keen on getting things taken down. That's all we're hearing on the TV. In fact, I think the television are now biased because the ITV and BBC are meant to be impartial. And they're meant to be unbiased. And what I'm finding is that all of this jargon and talk now, it's all about the public are bad, this section of the public are bad, that section of the public are bad. Every single word the BBC or Channel 4 or ITV are publishing about all these events is X, Y and Z taken down, X, Y and Z removed, X, Y and Z not allowed. I haven't heard the BBC or the ITV or Channel 4 once say this and this and that should be restored. This and this and that should be put back up. So what I'm seeing from the BBC now is an extremely heavy bias towards the police and Labour and the Democrats in America. Actually, they're pro-removal. They're actually pro-censorship. They're not impartial. So the BBC, Channel 4 and ITV now are not actually acting with impartiality in the legal approach to what's happening. They're not representing any material on television which is for the restoration or protection or preservation of any material or things. Everything is like down, take it down, remove it.